Whammon. I don't know how technology works.
Not settings.
Oh,
Not
that's
that. That's the mini. What are you doing? Okay. All right. Well done. This is going well. There you go. Theater mode. Good job.
This is what happens when you give me the control.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh god, I can't. Really help.
Okay. Good job. Well done. All right. Can you set the quality so that it doesn't suck?
Take the annotations off. Take autoplay off. Autoplay sucks.
And then put on
720
that's
or
fine.
1080.
I don't care.
720.
One of the HD ones. Why the Marvel Cinematic Universe feels empty? Oh boy, Vox. We're gonna have a fun time.
Because it takes place partly in space, and space is lots of gaps in it.
I love how the title isn't even like an actual assertion. It's just, man, it feels empty. It feels like it's lacking something. It's not actually lacking something. All right, whatever. Let's just get into the arguments. Do you wanna full screen it?
Oh god. What?
Do you want to full screen it after you fix the audio that is obviously too loud?
How do I do this?
Yeah, that.
Yes.
Yeah,
do you
there
want
you
that
go.
on full
That's
screen?
good. Sure, that works. I just wanted to get a video clip of that dislike ratio because that's hilarious. Well done, Fox. Way to go after the most successful film series in cinematic history. Good job. Well done. All right. Let's see if they have any good arguments.
Brady, you need to tell me.
What?
You're gonna stop talking.
Okay. Okay. All right. Do you want me to take the remote?
Yes.
All right. Give me the remote. Thank you. All right.
There you go. I'll let you have the pen.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is overrated.
Bullshit.
That's right. This is happening.
No, it's not.
Okay, so why is this not just a steaming pile of clickbait? Hear me out.
It is.
So far, there have been 20 of these movies. And
Yes.
producer Kevin Feige says there will be at least 20 more in the MCU.
It's
Marvel
a historic,
Cinematic Universe, within the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's kind of a historic, record-breaking concept for cinema, but whatever, go on.
This has nothing
Seriously,
to do
half
with
of
the
these
video.
people could disappear, and it would still be 148 too many characters. When we asked...
Your argument is that there's too many characters. Okay, I'm not even gonna
Fox's audience
signify that
for things they think are
response.
overrated, Marvel and DC's movies
With 5
again
upvotes.
and again. We love these movies. In the United States alone, they've grossed more than $6.5 billion.
Yeah.
How
And
much
yet
of that
there's
have you
something
given, like, 3?
missing. When you look at the
do you mean
history
there's
of
something
fictional
missing?
universes, and at the MCU in particular, it's possible to understand how it could be fixed.
How it could be fixed? Well, to be fixed, it would need to be broken.
Go back to 1939,
What are we doing?
and you'll find the likely birth of the Marvel Universe. It's in Marvel Mystery Comics number 7. These characters aren't that well known today, but here Betty tells Namor that the Human Torch exists, establishing continuity and crossover potential. This was the start of a new era, one in which corporations produced fiction. The idea was simple. You could use the fame of one property to enhance the audience for another. And Marvel wasn't alone in recognizing the financial opportunity of crossovers in the 1930s and 40s.
The Green Hornet.
Look at that picture on the wall. The man on that horse is one of your ancestors.
In the 1940s, the Green Hornet revealed that the series' central character, Great Reed, was the grandnephew of the Lone Ranger, another popular radio star at the time.
I hope you...
Almost nothing. It is a horribly tangential connection that he is attempting to make relevant. And I don't understand what the main point is.
do something about those crooks, just as your pioneer ancestor did.
Movie studios were thinking about this too. When Abbott and Costello met Frankenstein, it joined the Dracula, Frankenstein, and Wolfman movie franchises with a goofy comedy. It was basically Universal Studios' Avengers Infinity War, but with more running into walls. By the 60s, even DC Comics was catching up. Like when Superman entered his Fortress of Solitude and finally met Batman. They enjoyed some cake.
The original Batman.
By the
What
time
is this
Spider-Man
music?
got his comic in 1963, he was spending time with the Fantastic Four.
Yes, we could see them. We didn't need the picture. We didn't need the
And
circles.
this was also
They're very
when the Marvel
prominent.
Universe's problems started.
The Marvel Cinematic... Wait, are you arguing that this is when the Marvel Universe's problem started? When one of their most successful characters to date was made?
Duh.
Or are you arguing that this, like, concept is where the Marvel Cinematic Universe's problem started? Because that's also stupid.
This snow globe contains
Oh my
a
God.
half-century of television. It's the
Oh,
basis
thanks
for the
for
Tommy
this.
Westphal universe theory, which some argue might be the biggest fictional universe of all. The snow globe appeared on the 80s television show St. Elsewhere. That scene possibly showed that the whole series had taken place inside a snow globe world imagined by a minor character named Tommy Westphal. The theory is that if a show had a crossover with St. Elsewhere, that show must have taken place in Tommy's snow globe too. And every crossover that show had, no matter how tangential, would be in the snow globe. And so on, until you get almost 450 television shows in the same universe, in the same snow globe.
Can we go
What does this have to do with the MCU?
I'm confuzzled.
It spans
Okay.
from 1952 to today. It's a dumb theory, but it's meant to be. That said, the Tommy Westphal universe actually illustrates some of the problems with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
If the Tommy Westphal... What was it? Tommy Westphal? What was the name?
Yes, Tommy Westphal.
If the
is
Tommy
dude
Westphal
with the
universe concept is built on super thin, super surface level, super tangential connections between all these TV shows, then it does not represent any kind of similarity with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because that universe has very explicit, very in-depth interactions between each of their properties. And that's what makes it different to all these things that came before, where before they were just cameos, or they were just Easter eggs, or they were just, little nods to fans of a director or a series. Now, it's legitimately this character was introduced in this movie, and now they're in this other movie that's full of completely other characters and a completely different plot, but they're having an impact on that. And the things that happened in their movie also impact that thing.
E.
Also, it's being impacted by 14 other movies. Surprise.
That were purposely written to build up to a climax where they all meet up.
Exactly. Like, what are you talking about,
Crossovers
dude?
require a bunch of artistic compromises.
Oh, no.
No one wants Cheers and I Love Lucy to be a connected universe. It's because a bunch of business decisions connected them.
And business equals evil. Yes, okay, sure.
Sometimes the network forced crossovers on producers, other times the producers came up with it. Gary Marshall said that the reason that Mork from Ork knew Fonzie from Happy Days and Laverne from Laverne and Shirley was because his son said that Fonzie should dream about an alien. These crossovers are always about juicing ratings, not telling a good story. The Tommy Westphal universe is a thought experiment. Frasier and the X-Files don't mix, even though they do in Tommy Westphal's Globe. But even at Marvel, where continuity was...
We're still talking about Tommy Westphal's Globe. Why are we still talking about Tommy Westphal's Globe? You've established that it's a stupid concept that is built on tangential connections between these shows.
Because secretly, Iron Man is Tommy grown up. So,
oh my god! And the creative decisions, the characters interacting, the crossovers that have happened have not been done because some producer's kid thought that they should have a dream thing. It has not been done that lightly. Your arguments make no sense and have no connection to the MCU. I don't understand what the point of this video is.
Planned, it became a hassle to maintain. Marvel.
It became a very... That's a face.
You know what? Nick Fury's just gonna wake up at the end of...
Okay, hang on. Come again.
Even though they do in Tommy Westfall's Globe. But even at Marvel, where continuity was planned, it became a hassle to maintain.
It became a hassle to maintain.
Something that they had planned from the beginning.
Shouldn't that be impressive? Shouldn't that be a net positive in terms of the quality of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that they have maintained continuity over 20 plus films? Shouldn't that be shouldn't you give them a little gold star for that? Why are you saying that like that's a bad thing?
Marvel editor and writer Len Wein said the problem at Marvel was that we suddenly became a business with a bunch of books that Stan, don't think ever in his heart, expected to last more than a couple of years.
Okay, but they did. And also that's Marvel Comics. That has... Okay, alright.
In 1965, Lee replaced most of the Avengers just because the continuity for the original group had become too confusing to deal with. This...
Oh my god, he looks crazy in that.
Dude, the old art for Marvel, if you go back and you look at some of these things, they look so derpy, their faces a lot of the time. But, okay. Yes. Comics teams, comic characters, whole comic universes have had reboots to clean up the continuity. This is not a new concept. I mean, it was back then. This is not a new concept now. They have done this before. I don't see what this has to do with the MCU.
Continuity clutter.
Like, the comics can get kind of blurry sometimes, but the whole point of building a movie series off of comics so that you can see where the story is going in general.
Right.
And you can work around the little bumps and hiccups they hit and just say like, oh, we can make it make sense.
Yeah, and I think that's a... Why does it look like he's wearing shorts under his pants?
I was gonna...
Like, those lines look like he's got running shorts on under his pants.
Look, he needs... the world needs to know that Captain America wears boxer briefs, okay?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, when you put tights on and you're wearing boxer briefs, it doesn't look right, apparently. But anyway, okay. I understand what he's trying to say. Sort of. But it's a moot argument because it only applies to the future of the MCU and not what it is right now, which is what your steaming pile of clickbait title insinuates. Is that it feels empty right now. You're not making... We're over halfway through the video and you have not made a single argument as to why the MCU feels empty.
I'm still just trying to figure out what on earth he's looking at that makes him give me that facial expression.
That is... Wow, okay. Alright, I don't want to look at that anymore. Thank you.
Iron Man kicked off the MCU.
Yes, and it was great.
The universe exposition dump didn't happen until after the credits.
Exposition? It was a single line. Exposition dump? It was one line.
Too much information.
Wow, you have a really low tolerance for what qualifies a exposition dump.
Mr. Stark, you become part of a bigger universe.
Ant-Man required a weak excuse right in the middle of the movie.
I think our first move should be calling the Avengers.
I spent half my life trying to keep this technology out of the hands of Stark. I'm sure as hell not gonna hand deliver it to one now.
These have
Wait, that's all you're gonna... A weak excuse? Okay, you're forgetting that, one, Hank Pym worked with Howard Stark and Peggy Carter in his early work, and that relationship plays into his paranoia and his character throughout the entire movie. Also, Scott had to steal a piece of technology from the New Avengers facility, fighting with Falcon to do so. The interconnectivity here is not as surface level as you are trying to portray it as to anyone who has not seen Ant-Man.
It's me.
Okay, this is blatant misrepresentation of what the connection was in Ant-Man. The first scene in the movie is Hank Pym talking to Howard Stark and Peggy Carter. This is not the only reference to the wider Marvel Universe. That is just so disingenuous.
in the middle of the movie.
I think our first move.
Shut up.
Half my life trying to keep this technology out of the hands of the Stark. I'm sure as hell not gonna hand deliver it to one now.
These heavy-handed additions are about getting crossover hype, not about telling a good story. But they're
Okay. Counterpoint, if they were about hype, they would have included the things about the Avengers. They would have included the things about the Avengers facility, about Howard Stark. They would have included that in the marketing. You know what? They didn't. They included things about Ant-Man in the marketing. Amazing.
It's not like it's his movie, Brady. Gosh.
And also, it is telling a good story. Adding new characters that have pre-existing relationships with characters we already know in order to make them more understandable and quicken their characterization is good storytelling.
There's a bigger problem than continuity in the MCU, and there is...
You've not shown a problem with continuity! You have not represented a problem with continuity! Please establish the problem with the continuity before you move on to the next problem. Air quotations you can't see because the camera's not on.
Just say it, then it's a thing, Brady.
Oh my god.
a way to do it better.
Excuse?
Continuity in the MCU, and there is a way to do it better.
Oh my god.
Oh, you're the Avengers!
The rest of this scene is a standard movie fight. Their universe is only as deep as some merchandise and a few Easter eggs.
Because
Iron Man's literally his freaking, basically sensei or whatever.
Iron Man is literally his mentor in this movie. Iron Man is literally his mentor. The main plot device, or the main villain's whole deal, selling weapons built from technology left over from Avengers battles, that's not interconnectivity. The Chitauri Power Core that came from 2012's Avengers battle, that's not a plot device. That's not in the movie. No, it's just this one scene. This one scene is the only connection with the wider Marvel.
And he wasn't in Civil War. What?
What the hell?
It's not like he was already part of the MCU just by showing up on Iron Man's side in Civil War.
This video feels like it was made by someone, or at least scripted by someone, who has literally only seen the clips that are being provided. Oh my god.
The last
It's cool when Peter Parker's classroom has a picture of Bruce Banner in the corner.
That is an awesome Easter egg, and I really like that Easter egg, okay? Don't fuck with that Easter egg, man.
See, that's an Easter egg.
But it's
that
not a transformed universe.
I did not even notice that, honestly. But
it's not a transformed universe. The whole plot of Homecoming revolves around elements pre-established in the MCU. What the hell do you mean? The plot of Homecoming, I have argued with people before that the plot of Homecoming isn't too interconnected with the MCU at large. But there are some things in the movie that just don't make any goddamn sense without the establishment in other MCU films.
Mm-hmm.
That is what's the phrase he used?
A picture of Bruce Banner in the corner. But it's not a transformed universe.
That is a transformed universe! When a film directly references, not only references, but integrates elements from other films into the plot, the characters, and the story at large, that is a transformed universe.
Mm-hmm.
This video is insane. There are reasonable arguments you can make against the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These are not them.
It's like Quentin Tarantino including the imaginary brand of Red Apple
What?
cigarettes in multiple movies.
It's nothing. It's nothing like that. That's called an Easter egg.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not anything like that. The brand of cigarette has no impact on the plot, the characters, and the entire situation or the setting. Okay? I don't. My head's gonna explode. This video is gonna be the end of me.
It's cool. It's not a coherent, intertwined world. The MCU is like our own, except for the crossovers. You can test.
No. That's not accurate.
I mean, part of the point of it is that they've been crossing over for a while, just they haven't crossed over to this extent before.
Everything in Phase 3 was incredibly interconnected, and I don't understand how you can argue otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Test it with the characters. Add Aquaman to that poster. If you didn't know DC owned him, would anyone notice? The MCU has no...
What is your point here? What is your point? What is your point? That the poster's overcrowded? Are you commenting on the poster? What is your point?
If you didn't know DC owned him, would anyone notice?
Benedict
The MCU has no rules beyond corporate ownership. It's a...
It has no... What? 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 It has no rules besides outside of corporate ownership. Okay. Oh my god. This video just has problems with corporations, and it's trying to use the MCU to vent that somehow in a very poorly made argument.
Bucky. Oh, sorry.
Superhero hodgepodge. The same goes for DC. If you added Hawkeye here, nobody would care. And not...
That's because it's Hawkeye.
Don't you come after Hawkeye like that, alright? Hawkeye is fine. Hawkeye is a beautiful, beautiful man. What is your point here? Also, comparing Avengers Infinity War to Justice League? Ew? The hell is wrong with you? Okay, those two films are not even close to one another in terms of writing and characterization. Okay, you can't... Okay. Oh, my jeebus. This is ridiculous.
Superhero hodgepodge. The same goes for DC. If you added Hawkeye here, nobody would care.
That literally... Not on the poster! If they added them in the movie, they would be very confused! Because that would be breaching continuity! Which then people would matter, which then you would have something to whine about. But that's not happening! Aquaman wasn't in Infinity War because it would make no sense to put him in Infinity War, even if they had the rights to DC's characters.
See, the thing is, like, in Infinity War, even the main baddie that they hadn't technically fought yet, he had already been introduced on several occasions.
Most prominently in Guardians of the Galaxy, where he had several scenes that let you get a good glimpse at him.
And even that, he wasn't just another random baddie. He's Gamora's dad. So.
Yeah, they had interconnectivity with other characters that have other plot threads. I don't... This infuriates me.
See, if you added
I can tell.
Hawkeye here, nobody would care. And not just because it's Hawkeye.
Oh, fuck you.
Marvel's own property, X-Men, with a...
We're gonna talk about X-Men. I swear to God, if you bring up X-Men's convoluted timeline, that's literally not Marvel Studios. That has nothing to do with this... Okay, hang on. I'm making arguments that... Yeah,
Venom messed up the MCU.
Don't talk to me about Venom right now. I'm arguing against points he hasn't made yet. Hang on. Let's let him.
Movie universe owned by Fox and likely going to Disney shows a better way. This universe.
What? What? You complain about continuity and then you say X-Men is the better way? This is a movie series that has been largely not criticized because, like, people have at this point become so accustomed to it that they've turned off, like, the censors for it. But this movie series has the most messy, horribly paid attention to continuity. It has horrible continuity problems. The plots don't make sense with the timeline, and you're getting... I
haven't seen this, so I can't comment on how bad X-Men is.
It's not... No, the movies themselves are not bad. Most of the movies are pretty good, honestly. But the continuity is a mess. And to say that this is a better... You know how he talked about... You literally talked about Stan Lee rebooting the Avengers team because the continuity had gotten too convoluted. X-Men did the same thing! The same thing that you were criticizing earlier, X-Men did that with Days of Future Past. They rebooted the timeline!
That sounds complicated.
Days of Future Past. Okay. No, Days of Future Past is the name of an old comic that they based the plot on very loosely. And it basically, it involved time travel, and it reset the timeline, and then they immediately broke it again.
Very smooth.
Oh my god.
Very productive.
Is not just crossovers. Every character, human and mutant, has taken sides in a generations-long battle with real stakes, unlike Marvel's Civil War. That leads...
Are you fucking kidding me?
Civil War.
Did any... No, Havoc died. Havoc, literally, one X-Men that wasn't even on the team anymore died in in X-Men Apocalypse, the movie he's showing right now. These movies have literally no more weight, no more narrative weight, and no more consequences than the MCU has. You're just straight up lying if you think otherwise. A bunch of nameless people die, side characters die, nobody in the main cast dies. Except in, like, X3.
Those people still deserve
to creative possibilities, like decade jumping, and even tonal experimentation with deep integration to the X-Men mythology,
Deadpool.
If not the continuity. When
You're not...
integration to the X-Men mythology, if not the continuity.
Integration of the continuity... Oh my god. This man's insane. That's the only conclusion I can reach.
Or he's just trying to get them clicks.
Apparently.
When Marvel experiments, like with Jessica Jones, the big tie-in to the MCU is merch.
Do you have any cool toys in your room you want to show me?
Do you know Captain America?
X-Men movies.
Okay, that's a TV show. That's a TV show. That is one of Marvel's Netflix show. The interconnectivity is not going to be as deep as in the movies. Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but I swear to God, if it will shut this guy up, I will go marathon both seasons of Legion right now. And if one of the characters from the main movie universe if Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier shows up in Legion, I will shut my mouth. You're right. They integrated it way better than the MCU TV shows have. If none of the characters from the mainline movies shows up in Legion, if the biggest connection is name dropping, then it's the same thing. I don't. Reach the fucking throat.
Hey, you okay? You gonna make it through the last 2 minutes?
Also, how was Jessica Jones' experimentation? Daredevil was the first series that went, like, really dark. I'm interested that Jessica Jones is the one he picked as experimentation, because I thought, me personally, I think Luke Cage and the whole focus on the African-American aspect of that series, and Daredevil with the deep law and the deep law versus vigilantism themes and the incredibly brutal R-rated violence, not R-rated, but hard PG-13. Some really brutal violence. I would have thought either of those would be better options than Jessica Jones, but
are not all good, but they do have a universal logic that is stronger than Tommy Westfall's snow globe.
Which we've established has nothing to do with the MCU, and the MCU's cohesion is much better than a stupid fan theory about a snow globe.
He's just comparing the MCU to a lot of other things that tried to connect several stories at once.
Yeah, he's basically straw-manning the MCU, the entire MCU. He's saying, basically, the MCU is like Tommy, I can't even remember the name. What is it?
A universal logic that is stronger than Tommy Westfall's snow globe.
Westfall's. Okay. The MCU is basically Tommy Westfall's snow globe, and the X-Men franchise has a stronger cohesion than Tommy Westfall's snow globe. Therefore, the X-Men's cohesion is better than the MCU's cohesion. Did you notice I have given 0 arguments as to why that is? I've just made a really stupid chart.
But flowcharts are always right, Brady. You gotta
this is when he compares the interconnectivity of the MCU with a literal Easter egg of the fictional brand of cigarettes in Quentin Tarantino movies. I can feel my brain melting. We're almost done.
Here's another task. If you, little old you, were in a movie, which universe would change you? In X-Men, you'd have to decide where you fell in a decades-long battle. Do you side with mutants or humans? In the MCU, you'd be like this kid in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Your big decision would be to buy some merch.
I'm okay.
Marvel has flirted with a richer universe.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You gonna be okay there, friend?
Okay. Hang on. I need to hear that argument one more time, please.
Which universe would change you? In X-Men, you'd have to decide where you fell in a decades-long battle. Do you side with mutants or humans? In the MCU, you'd be like this kid in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You're making the assumption that I wouldn't just not give a fuck. You're making the assumption that I would be inherently invested in that issue enough to care. And from that, it seems like you're making the assumption that I would be a mutant. Or, like, the only options in that universe are pro-mutant or anti-mutant, when that's not how that works. Okay. So we're not gonna bring up the fact that perhaps your biggest issue might be whether to support the Superhero Registration Act, the Sokovia Accords. Whether you send a letter to your representatives, to your country's representatives, and tell them to vote for or against the Sokovia Accords, and when it goes through, when it gets voted in, as we know it does, you think the issue doesn't arise where we know these powered individuals keep popping up everywhere. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has shown this. The Marvel Netflix shows have shown this. These people with powers keep popping up. You don't think there are issues where these people have to decide whether to call the authorities on these superpowered people or not?
Nope, it doesn't matter.
You don't think that widespread support or admonishment of the Avengers as a concept is a thing? They showed it was a thing in Age of Ultron. They showed that there were places in the world that do not like the Avengers. Bless you. Bless you. They showed
to this video.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, throw up that clip from iRobot.
I haven't seen that movie.
I'll show you the clip. I'll show you the clip after we're done with this fucking stupid video.
Your big decision would be to buy some merch.
I'm okay.
You also see the false equivalency that you've made here between, in the X-Men universe, you would be a fully capable adult that's capable of making intense political decisions on a huge civil war. In the MCU, you'd be a child choosing for merchandise.
I want that Iron Man doll, though.
Me too. I want it. Oh my god.
Marvel has flirted with a richer universe, one in which the lives of all people are transformed by a shared history. But right now, would anybody be surprised if Disney forced a Marvel Star Wars crossover?
Yes, everyone would be
First of all, that would be badass. And second of all...
Starbenders.
Yes! Yes, they would be! People would be so fucking confused if that happened. That's why it hasn't happened. If your assertion, as it seems to have been throughout the entire video, that the MCU is only driven by dollar signs and by corporate overlords who only care about profit, this would have happened already.
Mm-hmm. And it would have gone very badly.
It would have gone horribly. This would have happened already.
Marvel and Disney can make the right choice. In the late 80s, the Marvel comic Damage Control toyed with the consequences of superhero life on the world at large. That made its cameo in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Cameo. It wasn't a cameo. It was a plot point. It literally started the main villain's devolution into a villain. What do you mean cameo?
Very calm yourself. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, look, I hate arguments like this. When the only way you can portray your argument is to make a horribly false, horribly misrepresentative image of your source material, then it's not an argument. You're making a lie. This video is a lie. It's not a cameo. It was a plot point that had significant impact on the plot at large and on characters' motivations and their characterization throughout the film. Damage Control, for anybody who has not seen Spider-Man Homecoming, spoilers, Damage Control is a department that Tony Stark created in unison with the United States government in order to clean up the aftermath of Avengers battles or superhero-involved battles, okay? Was him trying to be a philanthropist. Didn't work out well because that put Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, out of business. Put him bankrupt, completely bankrupt. He ran a cleanup operation, like what Damage Control had done, and when Damage Control came in, took over, he went out of business.
They did it better.
Mm-hmm. And he became the Vulture. That's why he became the Vulture. And throughout the years, he stole from Damage Control, who cleaned up the Avengers battles and put all of that technology in one place. Their involvement had active consequences on characters, the plot, and the setting of Spider-Man Homecoming. It is not a cameo. See, this is my argument. I have points, and I have evidence from the things. Okay? Vox, that's how you...
You sound like you're actually about to cry.
Look, I will not lie. I am a big fan of the MCU.
Oh, really?
Surprise.
You know, I thought you were more of a DC guy.
I mean, I'm a big fan of DC too, but, like, I'm a big fan of the MCU, but that's not why I'm arguing this. I am arguing this because this is blatantly false, stupid reasoning and argumentation. Okay, we have 30 seconds left, Jesus Christ.
A thrilling indicator of where the MCU could go. It was a world that anybody could imagine themselves in. But until that experimentation transforms the movies, the MCU is just a business strategy.
What?
Very, very technically, I guess.
You show that clip, and you say, until the interconnectivity transforms the world, it's nothing but a business. This clip, and you say, until it transforms the world. Do you understand your self-defeating arguments?
I mean, Brady, look, you have two dudes from back in World War II. You have an independent whammon spy. You have a green guy. You have two super robot dudes made by Tony, who's not even in this fight. And you have two of the main characters.
Where's the second super robot dude? What are you talking about?
Well, there's the Falcon guy. And
I guess his wingsuit is built by Tony, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I forgot about that.
Two characters from a movie that nobody even knew their country existed for the longest of times, and now they're integrated into the rest of society.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's almost like it changed the world or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm actually gonna cry.
Transforms the movies. The MCU is just a business strategy.
They look so weird walking backwards.
A clip from Infinity War. And you say, until it transforms the movies.
The universe is still in development.
The universe will be in a constant state of development. That's the point. That's the point of a cinematic universe. It's never going to stop being developed. The second it stops being developed is the second it stops making money. And the second it stops getting an audience.
So you're saying it's all a business plot?
I mean, at the most technical level, yes, every business wants to make money with a product. Films are products.
That's all they want, Brady. It's just
that doesn't preclude them from being good stories.
No.
His obsession with with corporations is so misleading. Oh my god. Do you have anything to say in the last 16 seconds? Please say no. Please say no. Please no.
If you want just the facts about Marvel, please check out Sean Howe's Marvel Comics: The Untold Story.
If this is what you consider facts, I don't think I want it. I'm good. Thanks. Oh my god.
That was a lot.
That was awful. I understand the dislike ratio. I don't understand the amount of likes they've gotten. That's 19,000 people that are swayed by the most...
They're just the DC fans coming in.
Oh my god, they might be the DC... Not the DC fans, the DC fanboys. Let's make a distinction there so that we don't get hate comments.
I mean...
Oh my god! What was this? What was you made no arguments. You made 0 arguments. The evidence you showed in the clips, it disagreed with the arguments you were attempting to make.
I think it genuinely was one of those, let's hate on something that everybody adores at the time. Tell
me this is a really, really, really early April Fool's video.
You missed it by a few months there, friend, if this is an April Fool's joke.
Oh my god! Look, there are arguments you can make against the MCU that are absolutely valid, and I am down to have a conversation about literally any of them. These are not them. These are just flat out false. Jeebus.
I don't think I have much to comment on just this guy. I think he just didn't like how, I guess, maybe the movie's interconnected. It's hard to defend his point of view when he didn't really give any examples from the actual
I know, right? I don't, what? And he blatantly misrepresented the ones that he did. What? You compared interconnectivity between the shows, the Marvel Netflix shows, and the Marvel movies. You compared that connection to connection between the movies in the X-Men franchise. That's a disingenuous comparison. You said damage control was a cameo when it wasn't. It was a significant plot point that had huge ramifications in the story of Spider-Man Homecoming.
And he spent the first half of the video explaining a snow globe.
Right? The first half of the... What the heck were you doing there? You told us the history of interconnectivity in comics that has no ramifications upon why this Marvel Cinematic Universe is this or that. This is ridiculous. This is awful. Hang on, I want to see if the like dislike ratio has changed at all. Okay, 1954. Stop. Come on. 2055. What the hell? Another 1,000 people liked the video? What the heck? Why are there 20,000 people that are swayed by this logic? This is ridiculous. Like, this is actually painful. Oh, I have nothing else to say about this. Sam, do you have anything else to add?
Again, I like trying to defend or see other people's points of view.
Mm-hmm.
But when you spend the majority of a video not even mentioning the Marvel movies, but comparing it to other attempts at crossovers and stuff,
then
I can't really defend what you see wrong in the movies you're talking about because you never really mentioned what was wrong with them.
Literally only the last half of the video. Not even the last half, the last, like, 3/7 of the video were actually about the MCU in reference to the movies.
Yeah, I can't defend anything at this point. I'm just confused.
Oh my god, this was ridiculous. Okay, that's no. This is gonna be enough to keep me off the internet for a while.
Nothing can keep you off the internet for more than an hour. Huh?
That's fair enough. I'm literally gonna go like drink an entire Dr. Pepper in one gulp, and then I'll be back.
And then be back.
Yeah, exactly.
It sucks. I'm gonna go have a Coke. Bye.
Don't start this fight right now. I am too volatile right now to start this fight.
Things will be said. Feelings will be hurt.
Okay, that's the end of that fucking train wreck.